Hello, I'm Atujami and you're watching HornbillTV. One minister resigns. Less than 24 hours later, another minister walks into one of the toughest jobs in the country. Normally, a cabinet reshuffle is just another political headline. One minister leaves, another takes charge, and within a day or two, the news cycle moves on. But this appointment is different. Pralad Jooshi is inheriting a ministry that's running smoothly. He's stepping into one facing one of the biggest credibility crises in recent years. Millions of students are anxious. Parents are demanding accountability. And after the NEET controversy, one question refuses to go away. Can India's examination system regain public trust? That's the challenge waiting for Jooshi from day one. No honeymoon period, no time to settle in, just a ministry under intense public scrutiny. So who is Pralad Jooshi? Why did the government choose him? And can one of the BJP's most experienced administrators help restore confidence in India's education system? Let's break it down. To understand why Pralad Jooshi is now leading the education ministry, we first need to understand why his predecessor stepped down. Former Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan resigned on July 25 after weeks of mounting pressure following the NEET paper leak controversy and nationwide student protest. Now NEET isn't just another entrance examination. It is India's largest medical entrance test with more than 20 lakh aspirants appearing every year. For countless students and their families, it represents years of preparation, financial investment, and the dream of becoming a doctor. That's why the alleged paper leak struck such a nerve. The controversy quickly became bigger than one examination. Students began questioning whether the system itself was fair. If some candidates had gained an unfair advantage, what about the lakhs who relied solely on hard work? Protests spread across several parts of the country, with students demanding accountability, stronger safeguards against paper leaks, greater transparency and reforms within the National Testing Agency or NTA. As political pressure mounted, the government accepted Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation and handed the additional charge of the Education Ministry to Pralad Jooshi. But replacing a minister is only the first step. Rebuilding trust will be the far bigger challenge. Now let's zoom out for a moment. When most people hear Education Ministry, they think about schools, classrooms and textbooks, but its responsibilities go far beyond that. The ministry oversees school education, higher education, premier institutions, national entrance examinations, and key regulatory bodies. It also works with organizations such as National Testing Agency, the University Grants Commission, NCERT, and AICT. In other words, its decisions influence millions of students every year. The ministry is also responsible for implementing the National Education Policy 2020, one of India's most ambitious education reform programs. But implementing the policy isn't straightforward. Education falls under the concurrent list of the Constitution, meaning both the center and states share responsibility. While several states have embraced the policy, others continue to raise concerns over issues such as language and implementation. So when Pralad Jooshi walked into the ministry, he inherited much more than the fallout from the NEET controversy. He also took charge of one of the country's most politically sensitive and closely watched ministries. And that naturally brings us to the next question. Who exactly is Pralad Jooshi? So who exactly is the man now leading one of India's most closely watched ministries? Pralad Jooshi isn't a newcomer to Indian politics. At 64, he is a 5-time Lok Sabha MP from Dharwad, Karnataka, making him one of the BJP's senior-most leaders from the state. Winning 5 consecutive elections isn't easy. It reflects decades of political experience and a strong organizational network. But his journey did not begin in parliament. Like many senior BJP leaders, Jooshi started his political career through the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh or RSS, before rising through the party ranks. Over the years, he served as the BJP's Karnataka state president and later became one of the party's key faces in southern India. Unlike politicians who are constantly in the spotlight, Jooshi has largely built a reputation as an administrator. He's often been entrusted with ministries that require coordination, policy implementation, and managing large government systems. Before taking charge of education, he served as Union Minister for Coal, Mines, and Parliamentary Affairs. Today, he also continues to handle the ministries of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, and New and Renewable Energy. It's important to note that this wasn't a full cabinet reshuffle. Instead, Jooshi has been given the additional charge of the Education Ministry while continuing to oversee his existing portfolios. Supporters say that experience is exactly why he was chosen during a crisis. Critics, however, question whether one person can effectively manage so many important ministries at the same time. One reason the government may have turned to Jooshi is his experience in handling difficult portfolios. As Parliamentary Affairs Minister, he played a key role in coordinating legislative businesses between the government and Parliament, a job that demands negotiation, consensus, building and constant coordination. He also headed the Coal and Mines Ministries, overseeing sectors that are critical to India's energy and industrial growth. During his tenure, the government pushed ahead with commercial coal mining reforms and focused on increasing domestic production. Those reforms won praise from supporters but also attracted criticism from opposition parties and labour unions, particularly over coal block auctions and concerns surrounding Singarini collieries in Telangana. Whether people agreed with his decision or not, one thing became clear. Jooshi was no stranger to handling politically sensitive ministries. And that's precisely the kind of experience the government appears to be banking on now. Interestingly, the man now leading India's Education Ministry comes from a humanities background. Jooshi completed his schooling at Railway School in Hubali before earning a Bachelor of Arts degree from Katashidwari Arts College, affiliated with Karnataka University, Dharwad in 1983. After graduation, he briefly entered business and co-founded a chemicals company before moving into full-time politics. His appointment has also revived an old debate. Should an education minister ideally come from an academic background, or is administrative experience more important than academic qualifications? Supporters argue that the minister's role is to oversee policy, institutions and governance, not to design syllabus or set examination papers. Critics believe that educational expertise can provide a better understanding of the challenges facing students and universities. Either way, Jooshi now finds himself leading a ministry that directly impacts millions of students across the country. One thing that stood out on his very first day was his honesty. Jooshi openly admitted that education was a new subject for him. Rather than making sweeping promises, he chose to first meet senior officials, understand the ministry's functioning and review ongoing work before announcing any major decisions. That measured approach suggests that he understands the scale of challenge ahead. Because unlike coal mines or parliamentary affairs, education isn't just another ministry. It's a ministry where every decision affects classrooms, campuses and the future of millions of young Indians. And that brings us to the politics surrounding his appointment. Pralad Jooshi's appointment was barely announced before political reaction began pouring in. That wasn't surprising. He wasn't taking charge of an ordinary ministry. He was stepping into one at the center of a national controversy. The opposition questioned not just who had been appointed, but whether replacing the minister alone would address the concerns raised by students. CPI-ML General Secretary Dipankar Bhattacharya argued that replacing one minister with another leader who also has RSS roots did little to address the deeper issues facing the education system. The Congress raised a different concern. Senior leader Jairam Ramesh questioned the decision to give Jooshi yet another major portfolio, pointing out that he was already handling consumer affairs, food and public distribution, and new and renewable energy. He described the move as a one-man, two-face government, arguing that the government had failed to signal meaningful change. Supporters of the government, however, see the appointment differently. They argue that during a crisis, experience matters more than symbolism. From the perspective, Jooshi's record of managing large ministries makes him well equipped to stabilize the education ministry at a difficult time. Beyond the current debate, Jooshi has also faced criticism in previous roles. As coal minister, his decision to auction coal blocks in Telangana's Singarini region drew protests from the state government and labour units. The centre, however, maintained that the move was part of broader reform and repeatedly denied allegations that it intended to privatize Singarini collieries. Whether those past controversies influence his new role remain to be seen, but they have certainly added another layer to the debate surrounding his appointment. Now, what students are demanding? For many students, changing the minister is only part of the solution. What they want goes much deeper. At its core, this is about trust. Every year, millions of students spend months, sometimes years, preparing for highly competitive entrance examinations. Families invest their savings in coaching. Students put their social lives on hold. Everything often comes down to a single exam. That's why allegations of paper leaks create such widespread anger. Students aren't just worried about one examination. They're worried about whether the system rewards merit fairly. Their demands have been consistent. They want stronger safeguards against paper leaks, greater transparency whenever irregularities occur, faster investigations, strict action against organized cheating networks, and meaningful reforms within the National Testing Agency to ensure that future examinations are secure and credible. Many students and education experts have also called for better communication from authorities during crisis, arguing that uncertainty only adds to anxiety among candidates. Ultimately, their message is simple. They want a system where hard work, not malpractice, sees success. Here's why this issue matters far beyond one examination. The National Testing Agency doesn't conduct only NEET. It also conducts other major entrance examinations including JEE Main and CUET, which are taken by millions of students every year. So when confidence in one examination is shaken, questions naturally arise about the credibility of the broader examination system. That's why restoring trust isn't simply about conducting the next exam successfully. It's about strengthening the institutions and processes that students depend on year after year. And that's exactly where Pralad Joshi's biggest challenge begins. Taking charge of the ministry was the easy part. Delivering results, that's where Pralad Joshi's real test begins. And it's not just one challenge waiting for him. It's several. The first and perhaps the biggest is rebuilding public trust. After the NEET controversy, students aren't just expecting smooth examinations. They want confidence that the system is fair, transparent, and secure. The second challenge is reforming the National Testing Agency. The NTA conducts some of India's biggest entrance examinations, including NEET, JEE Main, and CUET. In recent years, repeated controversies have put the agency under intense scrutiny. Education experts have called for stronger examination security, tighter digital safeguards, better coordination with law enforcement agencies, and quicker responses whenever irregularities arise. The third challenge is continuing the implementation of the National Education Policy 2020. While several states have embraced the policy, others continue to raise concerns over issues such as language and implementation. Since education falls under the concurrent list of the Constitution, successfully implementing the policy will require cooperation between the center and the states. In short, Jooshi isn't inheriting one problem, he is inheriting several, all at once. So what happens next? Political observers believe Jooshi's immediate priorities are likely to include reviewing the functioning of the National Testing Agency, strengthening examination security, ensuring upcoming entrance examinations are conducted smoothly, and continuing discussions with states on implementing the national education policy. But perhaps the most important task isn't administrative. It is rebuilding confidence. Because after a crisis like this, every examination conducted under his watch will be judged not just on results, but on credibility. Now, why the government picked him? So why did the government choose Pralad Joshi? The answer likely lies in his administrative experience. Over the years, he has handled multiple high-profile ministries and earned a reputation within the BJP as a dependable troubleshooter, trusted to manage large bureaucracies and navigate politically sensitive situations. Supporters believe that exactly what's needed at the time when the Education Ministry is facing intense public scrutiny. Critics, however, argue that the government should have appointed a minister dedicated exclusively to education rather than giving the additional charge to someone already managing several key portfolios. Ultimately, the success of this decision won't be measured by the appointment itself. It will be measured by what happens over the coming months. Pralad Joshi hasn't inherited an ordinary ministry. He has inherited a crisis of confidence, millions of students, thousands of educational institutions, and an examination system facing an intense public scrutiny. His success won't be measured simply by policy announcements or press conferences. It will be measured by whether students once again believe that India's examination system is fair, transparent, and trustworthy. Because for millions of young Indians, an entrance examination isn't just another test. It's an opportunity that can shape the course of their lives. And in the months ahead, every examination, every reform, and every decision taken by the Education Minister will be watched closely. The biggest examination now isn't one students will write. It's the one India's new education minister now has to pass. That's all we have for now. Keep watching Hornbill TV.